So despite my best efforts, education in Linden is still a problem. At the time of recording, we have 19,676 people eligible for elementary school, with a capacity of 7,500. And then aside from education, I'm also wanting to expand my network of trains just a little bit, which is totally fine, or it would be if we had another rail yard, which is weird to say because I didn't think I'd need another one, but I do think we need a second rail yard. But we'll deal with that in the back half of the video because I want to get started today by taking another look at elementary education, because obviously all of my elementary schools are full. We have a capacity of 7,500 people. We have 7,500 people in elementary education, and this is something I've seen everywhere. I've noticed across Reddit, across forums, across Discord, that elementary schools are kind of wild. They're kind of going off on one in Cities Skylines II, and I've seen some theories about why that might be. And in my case, I've seen some theories that it might be because of the fact that I'm not taxing the uneducated and the poorly educated and even the educated quite as much as I'm taxing the highly and well-educated. So the theory essentially is to flip the script on that just a little bit and send some people into elementary education by increasing taxes on those that are not educated, thus kind of encouraging them to go and learn more. Basically, the higher your education, the lower your taxes are going to be, which is a weird concept, and I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot. So we're going to say that the uneducated and the poorly educated are going to have 10% on their taxes. We're going to say that the educated are going to have 9%. The well-educated can have 8%, and the highly educated, we could say 7%. I don't love this. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it out. I also want to point out that the monthly balance is now negative 91,000, and it just went into the positive, actually, which is scary. The fact that we're now somehow making money in Linden, I don't feel good about it, because so much of that is coming from essentially the educated, the poorly educated. I don't like it, but it is helping. We are on the brink of turning a regular positive balance, which it's weird. Now, one of the ways in which I want to deal with this education problem is by essentially building a campus for education, because we do have some demands for a few different things. If we have a look at elementary, obviously we only have 7,500. There's demand for almost 20,000. College is similar, though. There's capacity for 1,500, only 916 going, but there's 3,000 eligible. So essentially, we have the people to fill up 2 colleges. So I'm thinking I want to, that was the wrong button. I'm thinking I want to come out this way over here. I want to buy these tiles. There's 14 of them. I think we'll get rid of this one and grab maybe those 3. And I'm thinking I want to build a little education campus out here. And I say out here specifically because if we go and turn on the contour lines, there's a nice little bit of flat land in here that would be absolutely perfect for it. Now, the other interesting thing with this space is, as I've talked about before, it's sort of on the way to this area where at some point I want to build a little village. So this area can serve double duty because we can bring a little regional highway road off this roundabout. We can have it connect to our little campus. Then we can have it continue one day to this little village, which is going to need a name, by the way. So suggestions in the comments below. We're not building it today, but we are going to need to name it at some point. And that's essentially where I want to get started today. I want to build this little education campus. It's going to be a couple of elementary school buildings and a college. Let's get to it. So first things first, I am going to clear out all of these trees because I do like to be able to see the canvas that I'm working on, and having trees in here is going to be a bit of a distraction. And also I'm going to landscape this myself. So we're going to clear out way more space than I think we're going to reasonably need. But I want to have, I'd rather have the space and not need it than need it and not have it. Not like I can't get rid of the trees later anyway, but we're going to do it this way just because this is how I do it. And then if we look at the space, there is a good amount of it. There's a really nice amount of flat land here, but I am going to just terraform this. I'm going to flatten it out a little bit more because it means that, again, we're going to have a little bit more space than we need, but it just makes things easier. I'm also going to come down this way a little bit. I'm going to go sort of up this way a little bit. We're probably going to go right to this cliff, to be completely honest, which is a lot of terraforming. But there's another little thing I want to do with this space, and that's going to be adding a train station to this area. And the reason I want to do that is also because of the fact there's going to be a little village out here, because it means you could, in theory, hop on a train here in Emerson Square, come all the way out, go all the way out here, get off and go to college or elementary school, or continue out to our little village one day, which I think would be great. We could also, if we wanted to, get another regional connection out here, which is maybe a bit much. I don't know if we need it, but it's something that I'm definitely thinking we could do. So it's going to be good. This area is going to be super accessible. It's going to have some buses. It's going to have some trains, and it's hopefully going to deal with a really nice chunk of that elementary education demand. And so we'll go ahead and get started by placing a college right about here. And this guy is going to be expanded a little bit on either side, which gives us a capacity for 1,500 students, which should mean that we're now good on the college situation, which is interestingly flipped the script a little bit. There's now no longer 3,000 people eligible, which is terrifying. There's a lot of people good for university though, which is fair enough. But either way, this is going to be sort of the central building of everything that we're going to be working with here. So what we'll do is go ahead and get ourselves a little 2-lane one-way road right in front of this guy. Something a bit like this. We'll go and just sort of line it down and around. And this is something I do with everything that I build. Everything has one-way roads. It's fine. I am very tempted to bring some pedestrian roads through here though. And the more I play with these pedestrian roads, I really do wish there was a thin version of them. I wish you could get an alley that was a pedestrian road. The alleys, by the way, are just a 1U road like this. That would make so much sense as a pedestrian road. I really don't understand why the pedestrian roads are absolute chonkers like this. It is a really weird choice, but I mean, hopefully one day when mods come to City Skylines 2, we'll have them, or maybe there'll be an update. I don't know. Either way, this is sort of the layout that I'm wanting to go for. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the script a little bit. I am going to put this guy here for a second, and I'm going to put this one here for a second. But then what I want to do is bring a pedestrian street out to here. And I want to bring a pedestrian street out to here. I'm going to bulldoze this guy, and I realize I didn't need to place these guys, but that's okay. And we'll just bring some roads up to about here, and we'll bring one up to about here, because that's going to let me go ahead and place these guys right in these spaces, which I think is going to look better, because it's going to give us those hedges that nicely divide the elementary schools from the college. I think it's just going to look better. But I want to see if I can get away with placing one of these guys, the children's clinic, because it's going to give us plus 5% health for the students. And unfortunately, looking at it, I'm going to need to go 2 units further up that way. But honestly, looking at this, I'm inclined to sort of bring this down so these hedges are almost in line. And then I wonder, would I be able to get a little parking lot in here? It is only a 4U space, and unfortunately the smallest parking lot's 5, which is really disappointing. Again, if these were thinner, if these were like alleyways, I could get one in this corner at the very least, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. So at the very least, we can use that as a decorative space. And then if I want to, I mean, I can expand this guy. I could put a children's clinic on this side, or, ooh, oh, I like that. I kind of like that. I like the way it sort of wraps around the college. That's actually kind of cool. So I think that's actually what we're going to do. That was, it wasn't really part of the plan, but I'm absolutely here for it. Let's do exactly the same thing over here. Let's go ahead and expand you as well. And I don't love how different these buildings are from each other. I will acknowledge that these guys don't really blend together, but it's probably fine. I also wonder, can I get a small plaza in here? Is that? It is absolutely going to fit. That is perfect. So basically, what I can do is go ahead and bring this little pedestrian road back here. I can bring it across, and I can bring it down through here. And then I should be able to get a plaza right in the middle. And that really nicely ties everything together. I mean, it doesn't, because these guys have like paths that should run into that park. But if we ignore that, it does nicely tie things together. So I'm kind of okay with this. I think this is like a nice little phase 1 of everything. It brings our capacity up to 10,500. But I'm not done yet because this is kind of boring looking. So I think in terms of capacity, this is fine, if a little bit stumpy. It does bring us up to a capacity of 15,000 though, which is much, much better. I'm not necessarily trying to match the demand that we have for elementary education, but this is going to put a really nice dent in it. And also, to be completely honest, we'll probably put an elementary school in the village as well. So that's going to help bring us up to 16,500. But I do want to put other things in this space as well. I think it's important to make this look a bit more like it's a school. So I want to get some asymmetry in here. And the way I want to do that is with some large sports parks. Now we could use something like the American football field. I don't dislike it, but I'm really kind of partial to the soccer field because it's what I know. So I kind of want to place a couple of these guys, to be completely honest. I think that'd be kind of good. I'm just not 100% sure where to put them or how to put them in here. What I could do is bring a little road sort of around like this, which is immediately going to sort of put some asymmetry in here. And I guess we could do 2 soccer fields sort of next to each other, something like that. I don't dislike it. I think it's kind of okay. We are going to bring some paths sort of out and around all of this to create sort of a perimeter on this thing. And then down this way, I want to do something with some tennis courts, again, to just sort of put a little bit of color in here, a bit of variety in here, and I think it'll be good. So in terms of tennis courts, maybe we do something similar, leave a little bit of a gap between those and the buildings themselves. We could, I guess, sort of do something similar where we kind of do this kind of thing, leave sort of a gap like that and put the tennis courts out here. I'm not against doing it. It does seem a little unnecessary, but we'll give it a shot. These guys also have a bunch of different surfaces, although I don't mind sort of tiling them like that if I can get them to behave, which apparently I can. So if I can get one in here that has like the sand, we can do 5 of them, maybe just 3 of them. And so I guess what we'll do now is go ahead and start to outline this thing with some paths, which I absolutely love doing. It's basically replacing fences from City Skylines 1. And you know what? I think that's pretty good. That's not a bad footprint for this guy at all. The only thing we have left to do is connect all of these buildings to the paths and make it look sort of interesting and turn it into something that people might want to walk around. I'm not really 100% sure if they will end up doing that, but I'm definitely going to try and give them a reason to walk around this whole thing. So we'll see what we can do at the very least. We can sort of connect these guys together. Maybe a little path right about there gives us something around that corner. Honestly, I do sort of doubt that anyone is going to walk around any of this, but it's fine. It's a bit of detailing. That's kind of the main reason we're doing this. We'll bring something around the soccer fields as well, which is going to, I guess, connect to the path right about there, which I'm not entirely against. I sort of want this one to connect down here as well. I sort of want these guys to connect straight through in the corners, which might look kind of interesting. I can maybe get some trees in there if we do some landscaping inside of the paths. And then for the rest of it, I mean, we'll go out to some of the corners. We'll give people, again, maybe a reason to walk around here. I don't know that they will, but we'll find out. All right, so with that done, I do want to start looking at getting a train station out here, and I sort of have an idea for how I'm going to do that as well. It's also going to be built on a little bit of a one-way road. So what we'll do is bring this guy out to... I'm very tempted to bring it out 2 units, simply because if I do, then we sort of have the symmetry of a gap of 2 here and a gap of 2 here. That doesn't seem like it's far enough back from this road, because what I'm thinking is that this road in the middle is actually going to get converted into probably just a 2-lane highway, because it doesn't really need to be anything else. It's not going to be zoned, and it's just going to be a highway. Now, obviously, having some cuts across the highway isn't ideal, but I think we can get away with it simply because, well, it's going out to a little village. I don't suspect that this road is going to be crazy busy. So we'll give it a shot and we'll see what we can do. We'll go 112 meters right about there. We'll go 112 meters right about there just to sort of extend this thing out. And I suppose I can also get away with maybe, I don't know, if I put a node right about there, and if I put a node right about there, and then if I put a node here, and a node here. You can do that by double clicking in any segment, by the way. We can then go and sort of swap out those segments for 3-lane roads, which to me kind of makes a bit of sense. And there we go. We have ourselves a little highway cutting through here. It is heading off towards what will one day be the village. But for now, I want to come in here. I want to get myself a train station, and it is going to live as central here as I can possibly get it, which is going to be not very... Of course it isn't going to go central. Okay. What's going to look better for this? I want to say that's going to look better because we have like these rocks here that looks a little bit more natural than this line of trees. And then I guess for this whole thing, what we can also do is, I mean, we have 2 platforms. We're not necessarily going to need to upgrade this guy with some extra platforms. So I'm not going to do that. I'm also not thinking that we need station services because it is a little bit more rural. And I don't know that we need a taxi stop either. So we're going to keep this one relatively basic. And I suppose in terms of connecting it to everything, we'll just go ahead and get some tracks and figure out how this is going to work shortly. And then I guess while we're doing that, we should probably do similar with this regional road, although I should probably start to smooth things out just a little bit because some of this is looking a bit ridiculous. So we'll hit this end of things with a smoothing brush. We'll hit this end of things with a smoothing brush. And this is probably going to be a really, really flat area. I'm going to have to go in here and add some hills back to it, I think. This side of things is going to be essentially a cliff because that's all it can be. It doesn't look terrible though. I think some trees down here will nicely mask that. This doesn't look great. I don't love this. So what we'll actually do is come back in here, flatten this out quite a bit more, and then hit it with a smoothing brush. So it's going to basically, you know, knock those hills right down. I think it would be a good idea to put some hills in this space though. So we'll do that in just a moment once I get this little road connected, because when I connect this road, I can also run some power lines underneath it and we can maybe start to get these buildings working. I'm also thinking I'm going to try my best to roughly follow the curvature of the train tracks up to about, I'm going to say to about there. And then what I should be able to do is flatten out a little bit of this terrain, nothing too crazy, just a little bit up to about there. We can bring this road straight out and straight across the tracks to about that spot. And then I want to try and use my slope terrain tool to connect these guys together in a way that's hopefully not going to be terrible. So bring you sort of down, bring you sort of around. I don't really know what that slope's going to be, but I'm hoping it's not going to be ridiculous. I'm hoping we can get a nice little curve in here. Let's have a look at what the gradient's going to be on this. So that's our snapping point. We want to go to there. It's 12.4%. It's a very steep road. That's fine. All right. So with those connections in place, I now want to come out here and I want to just put some hills into this space. And I'm going to be a little bit lazy with it. I'm going to take this height. I'm going to sort of bring it straight over. And this is sort of going to be about as high as these hills are going to go. That is actually pretty steep for the space. So that's not so bad. We'll go ahead and grab this contour line and bring something a little bit lower sort of around this thing so that we can kind of smooth out towards that. We'll do kind of the same thing here as well, although we'll not go quite as far with it. And we'll kind of blend these together and I suppose see what we end up with. We'll go with a bit of a smaller brush so that things aren't quite blended as much. And I don't mind the idea of there being a little bit of that dirt visible. I think that adds a little bit of texture to it, makes it look a little bit interesting. And I'm honestly kind of okay with that. I might go a little higher with it, a little steeper and a little bit more rough as well. So let's just bring you kind of out like this. Let's bring you sort of over like this. Let's get a smoothing brush. And this time, let's bring the strength way down to about 25%. Just hit this a little bit more gently so that we see a little bit more of that dirt, I think. Again, just to get the texture in there, just to make it look, you know, a little bit more rugged. Doesn't look perfect, but it does the job. It nicely surrounds this thing, and it also kind of blocks the view when you're coming down this road. And if anything, I almost want to do the same on this side. I almost want to bring something up kind of like this. And I'm realizing that using the smoothing brush with a really low strength is such a good way to do this. Look at this. And to be completely honest, I'm pretty pleased with how this whole space has turned out. I think it's going to look great when all these trees finally grow in about a year's time. But before we get there, I do want to come into the grounds of the school, of the campus, whatever we're calling it. And I do think we need to put some trees in here. I wasn't really planning on lining the outside of this, and I don't think I'm going to do that yet, which in fairness, we have done, I think with, yeah, we did it with this guy. It does look good. It does, it does look kind of good there, I'm gonna be honest. And it also looks pretty good here and here as well. And then let's not forget that in my first City Skylines 2 video, I did this in a cemetery, but I have also gotten a little bit lazy in a couple of places. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's obvious what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna line the entire campus with linden trees, which are medium-sized to large deciduous trees native to North America, which I'm pretty sure we've used the European palette for this thing so far, so these do stand out a little bit, but that's kind of the point. They're sort of supposed to. I don't really know what size they're going to grow into, so I mean, that's going to be kind of fun. That's going to make things interesting at the very least. And I'm also realizing I don't think I'm going to be able to do this in a way that is symmetrical, so that's honestly probably for the best. I think if I was trying to do symmetry the entire way around this thing, it would drive me crazy. And it might make things look more interesting if we're not perfectly symmetrical with the trees. So I guess I'm going to spend the next probably an hour just placing trees. Man, you know what's probably top of my wish list for City Skylines 2 is some kind of prop line tool. I cannot believe, this is going to be another one of my, it's gonna be another one of my moments where I'm really trying not to crap on the game, because look, we all know that it's not perfect and it has problems, but I've put so much time into this game and I am enjoying my time with it. So like, I really genuinely am. I'm not paid by Paradox to play this. I wasn't paid by Paradox to play it prior to launch. It was it's like a mutually beneficial thing. Let's not, beat around the bush. It's good for my channel. It's good for Paradox to get coverage. It works in both directions, but I wasn't paid and I wasn't told that I had to say this or had to say that. There were restrictions on what I could say. I wasn't allowed to talk about performance up until a certain point, but the fact of the matter is I've put a lot of time in this game. So for me to sit here and say it's terrible, I don't like it, would just be a lie. But there are definitely things like I don't understand why things like the prop line tool weren't in this game. I mean, I will say I understand why stuff like move it isn't in here. I've seen people saying like, why haven't they added move it? Why haven't they added like anarchy? Why haven't they added like adding move it is just going to, there's no way to add that as a feature that's not going to look buggy, because move it lets you do things in the first City Skylines that you shouldn't be able to do per the game's systems. So it's something like move it's unlikely to ever find its way into the actual game. But prop line tool, like a way to just place a line of trees is not gonna, I don't see how that's gonna like break the game, I really don't. But I've got to be honest, and this is maybe, I don't know, this is maybe rose tinted glasses that I'm sort of looking through here. In a way, I do really enjoy playing this game and also City Skylines 1 without mods. That's not to say that I don't want them and that I don't need them, and that's not me trying, like, look, here's the thing, right? There's been an announcement recently that modding in City Skylines 2 has been delayed. This is not me trying to be an apologist. I'm not happy about that at all. There's like, that's not good. I'm really concerned about the fact that modding has gone from being a few days away to a few weeks away to probably not coming until 2024. That's not good. This isn't me saying that I don't want mods. This is not that conversation. It's not that I do, but I do appreciate the game without them, especially Cities 2, because there are things you can do in this game that you can't do in the first one that, well, you wouldn't have been able to do without mods, essentially. Like the lane, not the lane management, the lane connections and the smooth intersections of highways and stuff. I do appreciate those things. And even going back to Cities 1 here and there, which, by the way, I do want to know, are you interested in seeing a bit more City Skylines 1? Because we do have an unfinished, unmodded series that I did plan on going back to. Let me know in the comments if, revisiting or continuing that is something you would be interested in. It wouldn't necessarily be taking the place of City Skylines 2, it would kind of run alongside this series. So let me know either way. But I guess what I'm getting at is I do appreciate the problem solving aspect of the game in that regard, where, you know, not everything can just be fixed with using a bit of anarchy to sort of push two roads together, or using traffic manager to I like that. I like the sort of the puzzle aspect, which is, I don't know. That's I don't know if I'm explaining it very well. Like I said, I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not trying to say it's fine that City Skylines 2 modding has been delayed indefinitely. Like, I'm really not happy about that. I don't know. There's a handful of things I'm really itching for in Cities 2, and I think Prop Line Tool is probably towards the top of that list. A little bit more traffic management control would be nice as well, because there are some places where they make some really weird U-turns, but there's not that much that I'm desperate for. Either way, I think that's good for the boundary of trees around this thing. Like I said, I don't know how big the linden trees happen to get to. So hopefully they get to a good size and aren't going to look ridiculous, but we will absolutely find out. As for the rest of this space, I do think some trees in here would be good. I think some trees down here would be good, and sort of around the parking lots might not be a terrible idea as well. So very, very quickly, I think I'm just going to use spruce trees. So it was said before City Skylines 2 came out that death waves were no longer a thing, but I don't know, man. I feel like they might still sort of be a thing, because we should have enough death care. We absolutely do. Crematorium availability is 76%. Cemetery availability. Crematorium availability is here. I just don't know. Like, oh, that's a lot of hearses up there. There must have been something terrible has happened up this way, because this street is just full of hearses. It is very, very odd, though, that it keeps happening. I mean, if we look here, why are you abandoned? Small homes, poor education. We're working on the education thing. They'll be fine. I mean, it's starting to clear out now, but every now and then there's just a bunch of dead people just everywhere. It's kind of a pain. Either way, this is now all done. We have our spruce trees in and around all of this. We have the linden trees around the outside of this whole thing. So hopefully they grow in and hopefully they look decent. But now what I want to do is get myself a new train line. So we're going to say passenger railway going from right about here. And this is just going to run the entire way into Emerson Square, going to that spot, and then going the entire way back. So going to, I'm going to say right about there. Now, what we could do, if we really wanted to, is have an outside connection for this whole thing, which would be kind of exciting in its own weird way. We could have some of the outside connections come in and go straight to this space. I don't think we need to do that, so I'm not necessarily going to do that. But I do think I want to get some buses as well, just while I'm here. So very quickly, we're going to add a bus shelter to, I'm going to say, the middle of this road. I'm also thinking I could probably do some taxi stands here as well. So we'll do them sort of right at the edges of these parking lots, just to have some taxis come out and do their thing. I could do them on the other side as well. Nope, never mind. I can't do that. So we'll just do them on the one side there. And I guess that'll be okay. And then in terms of buses, I'm basically wanting this to go through my suburbs. Not 100% sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I'll figure it out. And I guess, do I need it to go through this guy? I mean, it could. I think what we'll do is start by having it come down to this school. We'll have it sort of cut through this suburb to, I mean, it stops there, which is fine. We can have it stop here as well. We can have it stop maybe, I'm going to say down here. I don't need it to go out to that school. I do need it to come back through here. So we'll have it share that stop. We'll have it share this stop. And then we'll have it come down and sort of share this stop as well. And we'll have it also go to, I'm going to say this one should be totally fine. And then it just needs to cut back across. And that's going to be something that loops around our suburbs and that gets people out to this school. So what I'm going to do is go into that bus line. It is bus line 17. It needs renamed. I think what I'm going to say is that it's going to use electric buses because it does go around the suburb. And I'm going to bring the number of vehicles down to about 6 for the time being, because I don't think it needs to be more than that. I will say Might be nice to give it a bit of a different color. So we'll go for bright yellow, which I'm pretty sure I'm using for another bus line around the suburbs, but that's fine. We can use the same color for the trains as well, which are hopefully going to be running really, really nicely. I actually want to have a look at Emerson Station and see how it's doing in terms of people. There's basically no one waiting around here. This, honestly, public transport in Linden has gotten a little bit less popular recently. It's kind of weird if we go and have a look at it. We're down to 53,000 people a month using it, which, I mean, that's fine. That's still a good amount of people, but it's a far cry from the 90+ thousand that we had last time, which in fairness made for a really good YouTube title. So I'm not complaining about it. I don't know. It's weird that it has dropped off a little bit. Either way, I am expecting we'll have a pretty good connection out here. We've got plenty of ways for people to walk across these roads. We've got obviously trains coming out here. We have buses coming out here. I suspect these parking lots are not going to get used all that much, but honestly, it's not the end of the world. Now, something I would like to do is move away from education for a moment. We are probably going to go back to it in just a second, but I want to look at this space because it's been sitting empty for the longest time, and I've realized we have got demand for things. We've got medium density residential demand, a little bit of high density, a lot of low density, which we're not going to be putting in here, but we also have commercial, industrial, and office demand. Now, for obvious reasons, we're not going to be doing industrial zoning in here because we're trying to move that away from the city. But what we can do is come in here and bring a little road straight across here, because I did at one point say that we were likely going to be getting rid of, can I build this guy without any issue? Yeah, we were likely going to be getting rid of that train track. That was a mistake. We're not getting rid of that train track. I was talking about the rail yard that was down here, but the track stays because it is a cargo connection. And honestly, it looks kind of cool having this train track cutting through here and cutting through the city. And it's about to look better because I'm going to put some buildings on this side of it as well. So I do think it's going to look really interesting. But I also want to fill this space in a way that's going to just be useful for the city. Obviously, probably not going to be putting residential stuff in here, but we can do commercial, we can do offices, we can do all that good stuff, and hopefully get this all to connect together perfectly, which there's a bit of weirdness going on with the grid here. I don't love that, but I think I'll live, to be honest with you. I think I'll survive. Is it weird down here? It isn't. Okay, in that case, get rid of you, and we'll figure something else out. We probably don't need a bunch of connections through here. If anything, what I might be inclined to do is just replace this guy with a bit of an avenue. It is going to mess up the corner down there though, which I don't love that. I really don't love that. Was really hoping I could get away with not screwing up that corner, but I guess that's just going to be the way of it, which is fine. But at the very least, this does mean that you can sort of have a dedicated left turn lane, right turn lane. These guys are kind of similar down here. It's not perfect, but it does kind of what it needs to do. I am wondering though, if I flip that around, we've got sort of some dedicated turning lanes. I don't think this road's going to be that busy though, so maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe we should just stick with something like that for the time being anyway. If it gets super busy, then we'll swap it out. But for now, we'll do that. And I think what we'll also do is just bring some roads kind of through the middle here. We are going to have a little bit of overlap, which is not the end of the world. I think what we'll do is bring a road straight down there. We could just push this guy straight through, which I'm not against doing. I mean, it is just a grid. This is, by the way, this is just a way to deal with some of the demand. I realized I haven't really built stuff like this in a hot minute. We've kind of been doing little projects for the last few episodes. So I did want to spend just a little bit of time today getting a little bit of something in here just to continue to grow the city, because we are very, very close to 100,000 people in Linden, which is very exciting. And I'm very much looking forward to getting there. But we also need to make sure that the city is also, you know, regularly growing. So we'll go ahead and put a little path through there. We could, if we wanted to, run a little path up this way. I don't think we need to do that though. I think we're okay. We did have some overlap down here, which we could divide with a path. I'm not against doing that. I think we can maybe do a little something like that just to sort of divide those spaces. I don't think we've overlap in here. So if I was to do a path through, we are going to be making some of the zoning a little bit shorter, but I think I'm kind of willing to do it. I want to make these spaces somewhat walkable. So I guess we'll do a little bit of path work, nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy, but just a little something, maybe something over here. Ooh, actually, that right there gives us a really nice edge on the zoning. I'm 100% here for it. Do I want to do the same thing here? Because if I do, gives me a nice edge right about there, which again, I'm kind of here for it. And if I was to do this, is that going to give me a nice edge? It does. I think I'm kind of here for that, although I might sort of cut it that way so that I can bring maybe a little park through here, just a bit of something to make it decorative. I don't know. Either way, this is a really good space for zoning, so let's figure out what's going to be going in here. And you know, I've got to be honest, I'm slightly tempted to use some signature buildings in here. We have the Polaris Suites, which will give us +4 well-being within 1 kilometer. We do occasionally have a lot of crime up here, so hopefully that would help a little bit. This one is a bit too weird looking for my liking. It is very good for well-being. This one as well, honestly, it is a beautiful building. I might use this anyway. It does give us +10 well-being within 2.5 kilometers. Maybe it could go down this way. So it sort of goes, can I get it on that corner? I actually can get it on that corner. I can get it on this one as well, which I might do simply because it's going to give us +10 well-being for all these people. That does seem like a really good thing. Be a little bit noisy next to the train tracks, but you know, that's pretty cool looking. That is a pretty cool looking building. It nicely fills out that corner. I'm kind of here for it. We also have the Iron Press building, and we have Ember Suites, which is luxury homes on top of a clothing store with an updated wardrobe downstairs. It is +1 attractiveness citywide, +8 well-being within 1.3 kilometers. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say that we're going to take out some buildings because a little bit of extra well-being over this way would be kind of nice. We actually have a really good spot right here that I think would be perfect for it. So let's take out you guys and let's go ahead and get ourselves that signature building. And it is going to be set back from the road a little bit, but I'm sort of okay with that. It does look a bit weird, just this like big flat thing here, but I don't mind it. It's kind of a nice step down. It adds to the skyline really nicely. And so I guess what we'll do is just come in and do a little bit of a path so that we're not zoning right up against it. And that means going to right about here. That means punching through to that path that already exists. And I guess bringing it out to the road as well. And I'm kind of okay with that. You know what? We can also go in here and maybe add in just a couple of the poplar trees, which will grow and sort of create a nice little space next to the building. It'll look all fancy. And like I said, it adds to the skyline really, really nicely. We've got the trees down around it as well. That looks absolutely fantastic. So that's going to be some well-being for this area as well. Now we also have this, which is Principus. The companies working in this modern office building not only make sure that justice is served, but their efficiency helps to reduce the crime rate in the neighborhood. It is -2 crime rate within 500 meters, which would be good sort of up here. I'm not really thinking I'm going to put it up that way. It gives +5 well-being within 500 meters, +1 university graduation chance across the city, +5 interest in university education across the city, and +1 office efficiency across the city. Basically, it's going to live right there because it's a pretty cool looking building. Once those trees grow, it'll look great along this road. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is initially going to be filling up a lot of this space, is some office zoning, since we have a lot of demand for it. So we'll start filling in that space. We can start looking at filling in some of this space as well. I think along this avenue can definitely be some low density office zoning. I'm not saying this entire space is going to be offices, but I do think getting quite a few offices in there will be sort of beneficial. We have got some high density businesses wanting to come in here. My only issue with those is that EU high density commercial doesn't look particularly European. These guys, this is all the mixed use stuff, which I think would look so much better. We just don't really have the demand for it is my problem. So I don't know if I want to do European mixed use stuff in here or what I really want to do in here. I think we could do low density business. I don't know if I want to do low density business. Low density business. I can say that just fine. I'm just tripping over my words. I'm talking faster than I can think. I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to get some low density stuff in here. We are getting towards sort of the outskirts of the city. This space is, I suppose, supposed to be a little bit more low density. And we could just do some Europe. We could do a mix of European and North American. In fact, you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. We're going to do European low density there. We're going to do North American low density here. And we're going to see what the difference is between them. I'm pretty sure North American low density just has a lot of gas stations last time I checked, but we will absolutely find out. And then do I want to do a little bit of European mixed use housing across here? I could do more row houses. That would be an option as well. It wouldn't be a terrible option to sort of line the train tracks with some row houses. It wouldn't be great for the people living there, but in fairness, it would be an interesting way to fill up the space. So I think that's actually just what I'm going to do, is line this space with some row houses. We'll leave a little bit of a gap there for some kind of park. I think we have this small plaza that fits in there really nicely. It's not perfect, but it does the job. And then the rest of the space, I mean, these guys are going to be living opposite shops. I don't know if they're going to be thrilled about that, but they will survive. I guess down here we'll do more low density commercial. We could maybe do some more low density offices in here. And then this space, I'm almost tempted to say, could be more row houses. So that's what we're going to fill that space with. It's going to take a while for all this to build. And you know, I've got to be honest, I don't completely hate this, although I will say I do think the space is probably going to need some parking lots. So let's come in over here and let's say that we're going to take out maybe this building and replace it with a little parking lot in there so people can sort of park and go to wherever they want. It's a bit of a random spot for it, but it will do the job. I'm also thinking that a few regular parks wouldn't be a terrible idea, just again to sort of break up a lot of the buildings and not just have houses completely surrounded by commercial buildings and all of that good stuff. So a little park in there is going to keep them a little bit happier. We are probably going to start filling in some of this space, although what I could do is maybe do a little dog park somewhere like here, and that'll keep them sort of happier. We could do maybe a small park, say here. We could do maybe a little playground somewhere like here. And that's just going to, you know, make use of this space, which I am going to surround with trees and put paths in there and sort of make this all feel like it's all a little bit more, I don't know, designed, landscaped, whatever the word is I'm looking for. I just want these little areas here to feel kind of nice, essentially. Although I will say, can I get a parking lot in here? Is that, no, it's not going to be an option. Okay, that's fine. We don't desperately need one. Oh, and that was pretty good timing. I've got this all done right as the snow is starting to lay for another winter in Linden. I still really like the snow. I do. I really, like, I've talked before about how the novelty has ever so slightly worn off, and it has, but I still enjoy it. It's still nice looking, especially on the row houses. Once the snow starts to lay on the rooftops of those, it's just nice. It's a really cozy feeling, especially since apparently there's like suspected to be snow at some point in the UK in the next like week or two. I doubt it's actually going to happen. Every time, you know, every time the news is like, it's going to snow, it never snows. But I wouldn't complain. I like snow. I just do. I like the snow. Anyway, this seems like a good little use of this space. We've got some paths that connect this all together as well. There's a lot of people walking back and forth, which is fantastic news. I imagine, yep, quite a few of them going to the trams, which is fantastic news. Quite a few of them getting off of the trams as well. So that's not so bad. That's a good little public transport connection for this space. Although what I will say is that we do still have buildings getting abandoned around here because of poor education services, which is making me wonder what exactly the problem happens to be, because they could hop in a tram. I'm wondering if it's just too many steps. I'm wondering if essentially it's just the process of getting from like here to education is kind of a pain. Because, I mean, this college has one person going to it. All of the elementary schools are full. And if we look down here, I mean, there's a lot of people. There's currently 104 people waiting for a train. There are a handful of people waiting for a bus. There are a handful of people going to be getting off of the bus. So we do have the means to get people out here. There's also a lot of people going to the train still. So we have the means to get people out here. I just wonder if it's a little too complicated to get there from this side of the city. So I almost wonder if it would be worth building a new bus line that goes from, say, right here out to the elementary school. And I think I'm going to just give it a shot. I think we'll just try it out. So from there, we'll have it skip most of this. I think we will have it go to... I'd like it to go down here, to be completely honest. I think we'll have it maybe share this stop so that it sort of goes nearby. But then we'll have it sort of cut through all this space and just go to the elementary school. And then we'll just have it go back or go to this whole campus thing and then head back. I don't know if it's going to be efficient. I don't know if it's a good idea, but it's just what we're going to do. And we'll see if that lets these guys get out there without too much issue. I will say that line is 18.4 kilometers long. It's probably going to have a lot of buses up to, 11. Let's go down to 6. We don't need that. We're not going to go for electric. And I think we'll just change this guy out to be red for the time being so we can clearly see what line we're working with. And hopefully that's going to help these guys stop complaining, because now they can get to the university nice and easy. They can get to the college. They can get to the elementary schools. The only thing they can't get to is the high school, which, in fairness, I mean, I could just add that as a stop. It's not the end of the world. We can come in here. I don't know where this red line happens to be. It's right about there. So can I grab that red line and have it go to the high school? It comes down here onto the highway, which is fine. But instead, I want to bring it to right about here. And so now it should go out to the elementary school. It should come back along the highway, which it does. It'll sort of cut down through all that space and go to the high school, which is fine. Oh, wait, no, I don't know where it goes. Anyway, doesn't matter where it goes. It now goes to all the different schools, and that's hopefully going to cheer these guys up a little bit. I also just want to take a second to point out there's 515 people waiting to leave the campus right now, which means that all of those people are going to be getting onto this train, that's a lot. That is a lot of people, but it's good because it means that they are getting out here, and it means that they are going to be going to Emerson Square. So hopefully they can, go here and then continue on to wherever they want to go to. This place at the minute has 70 passengers waiting. This train is 155. This one's 59. There's a lot of people still walking around here, which is absolutely fantastic. That's what we're looking for. And public transport across the board is up to 68,000 people. So the numbers are climbing again, which is what I want them to be doing. So now I'm going to do something that's possibly a little bit dumb. And that something is I'm going to come in here and take out all of this industrial zoning, because it is about time that we start to clear this space out. I'm also going to get rid of these 2 water pumps because we don't need them. We can go underground, and I don't think there's anything to get rid of there. Basically, I just need all of these guys to go. We are going to need to replace this industrial zoning, but I just don't want this space anymore. I don't want it to be here. I don't think we need it. And we have got some buses coming down around here. Those bus stops are way too close together. So here's what I'm thinking we'll do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move this bus stop to the side of the road right about there. And we are going to go in and get rid of this stop right here. We can also get rid of this stop. Actually, we probably don't need to get rid of that stop right there. What we can do instead is we can move that one so it goes into, say, this space. Might be a good place for it, right about there. So it's, oh, that's a little bit of a janky spot. We'll put it right about there instead. Very small bus stop, but it does service this neighborhood, which is fine. It also has a waypoint here. We don't need that anymore. So if I could just get rid of you, it means this guy loops down and around. We have a waypoint here as well. So now it just goes in, it stops right about there. It comes back out. That's totally fine by me. That means I can go ahead and get rid of all these roads, which is exactly what I want to do. Now, when it comes to building in this space, we have a lot of ground pollution. So we're not necessarily going to be putting any residential zoning down there, but we do still have demand for offices. We do have demand for commercial, so we can probably build both of those down here. I'm just not sure if I want to do another grid or if I want to try and get fancy with things here. We do have the bank of the river to play with. We could go underneath this bridge, which would be kind of exciting. And that's something I'm really tempted to do, is get right down onto the edge of the water and try my best to build something interesting. The only problem is this map is basically a big old hill. It's a big old slope. So I'm not 100% sure if I can do it, but I think I'm going to give it a shot. We're going to grab this little contour line and I'm just going to level things out as best I can to sort of follow the river a little bit. Now, obviously, well, I actually don't know how I'm going to do this. So that's going to be the contour line we're working with here. That's a nice little flat section of land. I guess we go down here, we grab a random contour line, maybe this one, and we flatten this guy out a little bit, something like this. And so that's going to let me have 2 points to work with, and we slope between them, I guess. I'm just going to try and create something that really hugs the river, I suppose. I'm not really convinced that this is going to look good at first, but my hope is that I can get a road right along this. We can have the road sort of act like a key, and then I can use that to build some kind of little district in here that's maybe, I don't know, going to be some kind of office development. I really don't know what it's going to be, but I'm hoping it's going to look good. Although I will say I am now remembering that you can't actually build these directly in water unless you raise them up kind of considerably. What I was hoping I could do was have this at ground level and sort of do this sort of thing, but it's complaining about being in water, so I'm basically going to have to elevate it. I could go to 2.5 meters and do something with that, but I think what I'm going to do instead is just go to 5 meters and we'll do sort of a little straight section of road right here where the ground is relatively level. In fact, what I'm going to do is just make sure the ground here is nice and level, which it should now be. If I do this, it is perfectly level, which is what I'm looking for. So we'll get a nice little straight section of road, say from here to about there. And eventually we're going to push the land back a little bit, but we'll do exactly the same thing up here. We'll go for something that runs from here to, I'm going to say about there, getting relatively close to the water's edge. And I just need to curve this down and around and then bring the land on the right side sort of up to meet it. So let's see if this is something I can do. That's 86 by 86. That's kind of perfect. We'll go in a nice little straight line here for a second, sort of curve it around a little bit further. And this is going to be going a bit of a slope down, which is totally fine. That's to be expected. We want to sort of come in like this. We want to come out and around like this. In fact, this might be where we switch over to a simple curve, turn on our guidelines, and just get these guys to snap together a little something like that. And I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I don't love this bit though. That curve is really nice. I think we want to almost get another little straight section in here and get a bit more of a simple curve going there. And there we go. I think that actually looks pretty decent. We have some parts here that are already basically in the water, which is totally fine by me. All I need to do now is essentially lower this end of things a little. So we'll go and bring this brush strength right down to about 25% again, and just right click until this just drops below about that, maybe a little bit further, something like this. We'll grab ourselves the leveling brush and just bring the size down to like 10, maybe 20, and say we want to grab this part and we want to just flatten that out, something a bit like this. Maybe we want to go a little bit lower with it just so we can get the water right up against that road, which it is. And then essentially I need to flatten this out, and we're going to slope from up here with this part all the way down to the lower part. So we have the entirety of the wall, visible. That's the goal here, is to have no land up against this, just the wall, so it kind of looks like a key. And thankfully, it turns out that's actually a really, really easy process. Just with a very, very small brush and the slope terrain tool, we can go the entire way down here and just paint away all the sections of land that we don't want. I might want to hit some of this with a smoothing brush a little bit later on, just to tidy it up a little bit. But as long as we don't have land right up against this this road, I'm honestly kind of okay with it. So that right there should be all of that land gone. We'll flatten this out a little bit. We'll get ourselves a smoothing brush and just soften some of the terrain under here. We'll soften this a little bit as well. And we'll soften some of these edges that we have in here as well, because they are getting a little bit rough. It doesn't really matter. We're not going to see them, but I'm going to soften them out anyway, just because I'm nice like that. And that looks pretty good. That's actually pretty good. The only thing left to do now is try to bring the land up to the same height as this road. And somehow I need to figure that out. I think the way I'm going to play around with it really is a little brush. And we're just going to sort of grab these contour lines and keep grabbing sort of the next one or two. So basically, I'm using the level terrain tool and I'm just right clicking on that contour line and then just leveling the terrain to that height. And I'm going to keep doing that. I think we need to get one, maybe two more. And that should give us something that is basically that. That's the level that I'm looking for. So now I can smooth this all out to be the height of the road. And my hope is that I can get some zoning on this thing, but I'm also hoping I can use the slope terrain tool to slope the terrain between these guys. I just need to level this side to the right height as well. So if we zoom right in, it is pretty low here. So we'll go ahead and grab this contour line and just bring the terrain up a little bit. That made it lower. That did make it lower. Okay. That's not what I'm looking for at all. Ooh, this might be slightly trickier than I thought it was going to be. That is also lower. Interesting. All right. So bring it up to this height. If I get no terrain around here that's going to work with this, have I made a terrible, terrible mistake and gotten a, oh, this is higher than the, oh no. Oh no. Okay. Right. We need to bring the brush strength down. We're going to just sort of push up like this. And this is where I'm going to, this is where I'm going to grab my heights from. So we'll grab this one and we'll level to that height. It is almost high enough. I think we need like one more. Level to that height. That's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So this is the height we want. We will flatten all of this out. And then it's going to be a case of sloping the terrain between those 2 points and hoping for the best. And you know, I've got to be honest, looking at this, it's not perfect, but I'm sort of okay with it. I'm really hoping I can get some zoning on this road. I might have to replace the road to do it because I don't think there is zoning on it right now, but at the very least, this is going to make it look a little bit more seamless, and that's what I'm going for. If needs be, we can just connect some roads down to here, and we can build on those roads. I can probably do like a little waterfront thing as well, and we can just make this all look really, really nice with some landscaping and some details and some decoration. But what I am going to have to do is hit this with one hell of a smooth terrain tool, just to try and make this make sense. Because right now it is a little bit nasty looking, but that is actually working really, really nicely. And this is going to make for an interesting area, I think. I've been playing around with the road tools a little bit lately to try and figure out how to make these kind of key walls. And I know there's a trick where you can block off the water and then build a road and then let the water back in so you can get like the very sharp wall thing. I know there's some tricks to it that I'm not using here, but that is actually the first time I've properly played around with the terrain tools and this kind of thing. I like that. That looks really good to me. I'm actually really pleased about it. I just wonder, I don't want to replace a bit of road because it might go to surface level. Okay, we're good. So there's no zoning on this, which is fine. We can build roads out to this and make a pretty cool looking space. I'm curious, actually. I might regret this. I might regret this decision, but I'm going to run an avenue straight out to here. And I want to see what it does. Wait, can I not do, wait. Can I not do that? Can I not? Oh no. Wait, I can do it. Hold on. Why was it telling me I couldn't do that then? Turn off this guideline. Can I not? Oh no. Wait, why can I connect it over here but not here? That's perfect though. That's the perfect spot. Oh, it's because apparently it's in water, which I find hard to believe, but I guess what I can do is maybe bring the terrain out a little bit so that there's not water there. And then if I run this avenue down here now, it looks like it'll connect. So it's frustrating, but that's easy to work with. We'll run an avenue 2 right about there. The zoning is going to be weird, but that's totally fine. All I need to do, I guess, is grab a bit of a slope there and just cut straight through like this. And that pretty much gets rid of the weird little bit of terrain that we had to deal with. I also want to just make sure that we don't have anything there that we don't want. And that's going to be a connection to this new space. And I think that's maybe how I'm going to do this, is just a bunch of roads coming down and connecting to more streets. We can put some buildings on it. I don't know what it's necessarily going to be. By all means, we could make it sort of industrial. I don't want, not industrial, but we do probably need another train. I know we had one here, and I know I just got done moving it out of here, but this does almost seem like it would be a cool space for a rail yard right down there in the water. And it is polluted like crazy anyway. And we do have a tram depot here already. So I don't know. I don't know how I'd connect it to everything, but it would be an option. We could also play around with subways. We could unlock those and get ourselves a subway yard in this space. But I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some roads in here, and then we'll figure out what those roads are going to be for a little bit later on. I'm also really enjoying the idea that this could be a very pedestrian-oriented space. So I'm leaving gaps between all of these pedestrian roads so I can put some pedestrian paths in here. But obviously, we're also just using pedestrian roads to make this space as walkable as is possible. So we'll bring these guys down to somewhere like here. I'm intentionally sort of leaving this gap along the front for two reasons. Number one, I would have to bring the terrain back up to basically stop these guys from building, you know, in water. And honestly, number two, this is probably going to be a massive walkable space on the waterfront anyway. So it kind of makes sense. Now, what we'll do very quickly is get ourselves one last little stretch of road through here. And we'll just bring this guy right down. It actually lines up really nicely with the bridge, which is fantastic. We can get some buildings underneath that bridge, which is also fantastic. And I sort of like this layout. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to connect out to it just yet, but we will figure that out. I guess what I could do is just go straight across like this and then take these guys sort of out because we don't really need them. I'll keep that one because it sort of caps off the space. We'll do the same thing on this side. We'll just cut straight through to there, taking these guys out. And that does give us some connections. Obviously, we are going to want people to be able to sort of go straight down to Moore Street. We want to give that road some purpose. Although, thinking about it, if these are all pedestrian streets, Moore Street, by all means, could also be one. I'm not going to try and upgrade it because that seems like it would be a nightmare given the fact that it's in water. But it's maybe not the end of the world. Maybe not a terrible idea to do that at some point. But what I will do is actually just continue this guy out a little bit further to here. So 128, and we're going to bring it up to about there. So we have got another connection for this space. It's not all relying on this one avenue. And that does make me want to say that this should probably be a road that people can drive on. We are going to need parking space in here as well. So I think for now, we'll swap this out to be a road that people can drive on. And then this will probably connect straight down to Moore Street as well. And that'll be the reason that you would drive down there. This has no reason to be driven on right now, but we might fix that. Maybe what we do is sort of connect this one straight down to Moore Street as well. But I think this is a decent little layout. Obviously, it is just a grid, but it'll do the job, and that's okay. So like I've said, kind of annoyingly, there is a lot of ground pollution in this space, and I genuinely have no idea if it's ever going to go away. I don't know enough about ground pollution in City Skylines 2 to know that for sure. Maybe you do. Let me know in the comments below whether or not that's ever going away. But that does mean that for now, we're going to be a little bit limited in what we can build in this space. And so what I'm going to do is just fill a bunch of this space with some low density offices to start with. So right along that road is going to be a bunch of low density offices. And then a lot more of this space is probably going to be EU high density business. So we'll go for here and we'll go for all the way across here as well. This is going to be way too much commercial zoning. This is going to be way too much commercial zoning. Good Lord. This is going to be a terrible idea. Although it is, at the very least, going to give me a bit of a comparison because we could switch out for North American high density zoning and see what the actual difference happens to be. So I think that's what we're going to do for those spaces. We'll let that build. We'll let that do its thing. I mean, the commercial demand is pretty much going away instantly. And I mean, what I would like to do is have this space be, I would like it to be residential. I just don't know how to get rid of that ground pollution. I actually have no idea. I feel like I probably should have a bit of an idea. Let's see. Ground pollution starts to dissipate after the source is removed, but it takes a long time for it to disappear entirely. Once the pollution is gone, groundwater deposits eventually replenish themselves with fresh water, and the effective, wait, so it decreases, let's see, it decreases affected citizens' health and happiness. It spreads onto the land near its source and contaminates any groundwater deposits it comes into contact with. So I almost wonder if I had good enough healthcare. I'm going to give this a shot. If I have good healthcare in here, I wonder if I can get away with some residential zoning. I think we're going to give it a shot. We're going to see what we can do here. And I think what we'll do is go for, oh, I'm tempted to say North American medium density housing, just simply because it'll be these little buildings, like stuff like this, and then a bunch of nature around it. But we have kind of been sticking with the idea that this is more like an old town area, so it does use way more of the European buildings. So I think for now, we'll use the European medium density housing buildings. We'll fill in those spaces. Maybe we'll do a little bit of North American commercial just here. So it's on the avenue. And I guess these spaces are going to be filled with paths anyway. So for the rest of this, we'll do European medium density residential. We'll fill up all of this space. We can fill up all of this space as well. We'll fill up this a little bit, and then we'll take out these guys because that's where I'm going to put some paths. And I sincerely hope that people don't get sick. In fact, we have this little corner right here. So why don't we go ahead and build ourselves a little medical clinic here so that hopefully people don't get sick in this whole space. We can build an ambulance depot right there. We can do an extension wing on the back right there. We'll do one on that side as well, just to nicely get this thing properly kitted out. And I guess we could also do a little firehouse. We have, again, got the space for it. So we'll do this at the back. We'll upgrade that guy. And policing is, yeah, we could use a little bit of policing over here as well. So maybe we'll do this corner for a little police department. Doesn't look great going up the slope there, but that's totally fine. We'll expand it and that'll be good. So that's going to be a bunch of services for this space. You guys are complaining about ground pollution. Surrounding ground pollution is negatively affecting the building's occupants. Oh boy. Oh boy. I had a feeling it was too good to be true. I was reading the description of the ground pollution. I was really hoping. I mean, it decreases affected citizens' health and happiness. I mean, it is going to do that. I just really hoped that I could offset it with some healthcare, but I don't think I'm going to be so lucky. All right. So despite the fact that a lot of the buildings aren't building right now because we don't have the demand for medium density residential zoning, I have decided to go in here and I have placed a whole bunch of trees along the waterfront, which I think it looks pretty good. Yes, a lot of this space is just filled with birch trees, some apple trees, and some hickory trees, but we do have some linden trees that are going right along the waterfront that I think, and I hope when they're fully grown, will actually look pretty good. I'm also really excited at some point to connect this end of this road to probably down here somewhere. I think this would be a good little spot. In fact, I might, do I want to do that now? Part of me does, I'll be honest, because it would mean that we will have traffic going along this road. Oh, am I going to do, I think I'm going to do it. I was about to wrap things up, but I think I need to do it. And you know what? I love how this has turned out. I love that we have this little connection here that people can use to get over to this side of the city. I love that it goes under two bridges. That actually that's probably my favorite thing about this, is just that it goes under the bridges. And well, I mean, people are using it now. That's kind of exciting as well. I really like this. I'm really excited to see traffic using this. Like I said earlier, I haven't really played around with these all that much. So this is, it's so simple. Like, this took so long to put together. This would have been so quick in Cities Skylines 1 with both mods and just keys in general. But you know what? I'm here for it. I think that looks pretty good. And I think this area is going to look great when eventually the buildings start to come in. I think it's just going to take a while because, well, yeah, we're kind of limited on demand right now. I could do more commercial, admittedly, which, to tell you the truth, I might just do. I mean, what if I put NA mixed housing in here? Is it gonna let me do mixed housing? I wonder if it's gonna let me do mixed housing. Is it actually gonna build it just instantly, or is it gonna be like, hey, you don't have residential? I don't think we don't have residential demands, so it's probably not gonna build them. Let's just do North American high density commercial across here. We'll let those spaces build up a little bit. We'll get some buildings in here just to slowly start filling things in a little bit. Anyway, that is going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.